Welcome in, everybody. Another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin. I'm joined, as always, by James Haskell. And our last video, we had the brothers Henzelka, Craig and Danny from Hanz Picked, giving us their grades on our mock draft. So this time, we're going to get their mock draft, and we're going to give them our grades. So this video is going to be going over just the first 3 rounds, so just the first 5 picks for the Ravens. We're going to get their mocks, and we're going to let them know how we feel about them. Isn't that right, Jimbo?
Yeah, that's right. So who's starting off here? We going with age or beauty?
We can go beauty if that's what you guys.
All right, Craig. We'll let you kick off with your first pick. Craig, with the 28th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select.
Wait! I gotta set the stage. Before that, I just want to say, when you're looking at drafts this year, I say to every show that it's really hard to tell who's going where because the virus is really not connecting all the media and the scouts all together. So I try to be as fair as possible. So I went to a mock draft site, even though I know they're not perfect. As I could, I used that site. So with that, in the first round, the Ravens at number 28 select AJ Epineza, DN, Iowa. This guy has the nastiest punching hands I've seen in the draft so far, besides like your Chase Youngs and your super elites. But Epineza, my man loads up and hits him like Mike Tyson. He moves linemen with one arm. He's stocky as all can be. I don't think he could play DN for us, but I think you could pop him back an outside linebacker and let him work around in there, and that would make it – we'd have our stout line, and then we have Judon and Epineza on the corners or on the edges, and I think that's just like a dream come true.
Wow.
All right.
You got him going in the first round. They're going to go – D-line. What do you think, Jimbo? What's your thoughts?
I don't mind the pick. It's definitely a need of ours. I don't know if, like you said, there's a significant drop-off. So sometimes it's hard. I feel like when those guys aren't in that upper echelon, they kind of get pushed down a little bit in the draft, which could be to our benefit if he is really better than what some people are projecting. My only concern is philosophically, we've invested draft equity in the sack daddy, J Fergie, Jalen Ferguson. And then, of course, we got Bowser out there as well. So I guess Eric DeCosta said it. You need to have at-bats, right? You need to take swings. So, but I don't know if the idea here is to address that position in the draft for win now.
So let me sell my spot just what I said. Epineza is an extreme pass rusher. You said D-line. I think he could honestly stand and be an outside linebacker, and I know Ferguson's there. Judon is on a tag, and not only did they tag him, but they didn't tag him as an outside linebacker. They tagged him as a DN, so they shorted him change. So with that said, if I was Judon, I'd be kind of upset that they didn't give me the money that I think I deserved because I played 95% outside linebacker. So I think Epineza either gives you the option where you can trade Judon and get a first, which I don't want because I really do like Judon. Or you put Judon on the edge and you put Epineza on the other edge, and now you have 2 pass rushers. And now when Lamar's up by 30 points, you don't have to worry because that pass rush is so elite now. We already have great secondaries. Now you're giving Marcus Peters more chances to just go steal the ball in the air because the quarterback's going to be forced to throw it. Because I feel like last year sometimes our wasn't great.
All right. Well, I was gonna give you a B-, but I'm gonna give you upped it to a B+. I upped you 6% from an 82 to an 88. All right. No problem.
I think I'm a little bit. I'm a little bit more on Craig's side than you are on this one, Jimmy. Even though I didn't mock us getting a pass rusher in the first round, I think it would be very smart. I think you mentioned in a couple other videos, Jimmy, that the strength of our team right now is that secondary. And what makes the secondary even better than a pass rush? And really, we blitzed the most in the league for a reason, and that's because they just didn't have the confidence that our 4 down can go get the quarterback. So I think if you bring in a guy like Epineza and you pair him with Judon, because everybody we've ever tagged has ended up getting a long-term deal, so I expect Judon to get that as well. And then you have Calais Campbell up the middle and maybe bring back a Pernell McPhee or Derek Wolfe in the interior as well is going to be there providing pass rush. I think that could take our pass rush to another level and really just, kind of highlight what already is a great secondary and make it look even better than it already is. So I'm going to go A- here on Craig's. So, yeah, it was a good one for me. So, Danny, where do you got the Ravens going at 28?
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. One more thing. Ozzie always said the only two positions that you always can draft at, edge and cornerback. You never can have enough edge and cornerback. Sorry,
Well,
Dan.
they might have enough corners this time, but I see your point. I agree. Go ahead, Danny.
All right. So I also went with an edge rusher, and I think it's the edge rusher who's the most finished project in the draft, and that is Zach Bond out of Wisconsin. And you guys might notice a theme with the school if you pay attention closely. So Zach Bond is a guy who has all the pass rush moves. If we need him to kick inside, he can. He's ready to go. I think from day one he'll be a 8-9 sack guy, and I think I don't think he has a huge potential, but I think he'll have 10 years of 10 to 12 sacks, and I think it would be a solid pick at the end of the first round.
10 years, 10, 12 sacks. That's over 100 career sacks, man. That's potential.
That's true. He's going to be a consistent guy who just gets it done.
All right, Glenn, what do you got for a grade on him?
Well, hang on. Let me just ask you, Danny, why Bond over Epineza?
I think Epineza is a potential guy. So I think he has a lot of room to grow. I think if he hits the heights he can, he's going to be a great player. But I just think Bond is a better finished product. I think we could put Bond on the field right now, and he would be our next best pass rusher after Judon. And if we trade Judon, he'll be our best pass rusher. So that if Judon leaves, that position is really weak really quickly, and they need someone to be there just in case that happens.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, I kind of along the same lines of Epineza that I like pass rush, and I think you mentioned that we're certainly weak in that position. Craig, you mentioned a little bit off air. Who's our starting outside linebackers right now? And outside of Judon, you don't have a lot of confidence in Bowser. You don't have a lot of confidence in Ferguson, even though he made some strides towards the end of the season. I think either one of those guys could come in day one and certainly compete for that starting spot, but probably earn it.
So what's your grade?
I'm going to go A- again. I like both of them. Go ahead, Jimbo.
It's a tie. I'm going to give you a B+.
Wow, so they're tied out of the game.
I kind of get what you're saying, and I agree with you that like it's 6 one, half dozen the other. Are you taking a guy that has a little bit higher ceiling but a lower floor, or a guy with a higher floor but maybe a lower ceiling? Right? So we're in a win now, so you might want the higher floor, but who knows? Guy with more athleticism might pop at the beginning of his career. It might take him less time to adapt and things like that because he's a superior athlete. So I can see 6 1, half dozen the other. B+ for me, 88%. All right, Danny, we're going to stick with you. Your next pick for the Baltimore Ravens, first pick in the second round. What do you got?
All right, so I have another Wisconsin boy. Running back, I think me and Craig both think he's the best running back in the draft.
Yes.
Chance he could fall, I think, is Jonathan Taylor. He's a guy who runs a 4.3, but he's also a power back, but he can also juke out a cornerback. It's crazy if you watch him. If that's all I had to say, he would be a first-round pick. But the thing that holds him back is that in his college career at Wisconsin, a very run-heavy system, he has 926 carries. There is a lot of tread on his tires, but if he can stay healthy, I think he can be a top 10 back, and I think Harbaugh is looking for speed right now to put in the backfield.
Not a lot of tread on his tires, actually.
Yeah. I think that's what he meant. But I tell you what, Danny, this is my number one running back in the draft. This guy is productive. I mean, this guy, every time on Saturdays I turn on ESPN, I saw his stat line. It was insane. I mean, this is in the Big Ten against quality opponents. I think he would be an excellent choice. I think if you could get him, do you think the running backs stick around until the second round? Is that what you guys are both kind of predicting?
I think that I could see maybe 2 getting picked. I just think with over 900 carries, that's a lot for a running back already coming into the NFL. So you're already worried about durability. He already has basically 3 high-impact seasons in college of running. So maybe he only has 5 years left. You don't know. It's a gamble that you're taking.
Yeah. So same thing. I mean, because Glenn and I have talked about this before, and we've seen some mocks where he's in the first round based on just his talent alone. And definitely, I think we would agree with you and say that he's the best back coming out. if he's around for that second-round pick, man, I love it. I love the fit. The Ravens take guys that produce. So, Danny, if he's there, I'm giving you an A+, man.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to go B+ only because of I want to win now, and I think Mark's still going to get a ton of the carries this season. But man, it would be exciting to see Taylor going forward. Absolutely. So, Craig, number 55. Who are the Ravens taking?
Hold on. For Danny's pick, I think Jonathan Taylor would be the most essential piece you could put in for a win now thing. You put Jonathan Taylor with a Mark Ingram, and you have two elite dynamic running backs with Lamar Jackson. Could you imagine just the backfield with Lamar and Jonathan Taylor and Mark Ingram next to each other? There's no way you're going to be able to predict what they're going to do. I know ideally you wouldn't have two running backs in there, but just having some type of lineups like that, defenses would be on their toes and would not know where to go.
Serious deception.
Yeah, huge.
Absolutely.
Anyway, with the number 55 pick, and this is someone that I don't necessarily think will get down there, but he's one of my favorites, and I really want to highlight him. I hope he gets down there, and it's Reagor, the TCU receiver. Jalen Reagor just has it. When he plays, his routes are crisp. They're smart. I remember I watched one play that reminded me of Kobe Bryant, basically, because Kobe Bryant would do this thing where he'd cross over and do the same thing multiple times, and then when the guy was catching on, he'd cross over and then cut back and just destroy people. Reagor did that in a series. He did a comeback at the first down marker. He'd go 2 yards past it, comeback. He did it 2 or 3 plays in a row. Fourth play, he went for 60 yards and a touchdown. He's dynamic. He can catch away from his body, great contested catches despite his small stature. He's like, if he was a little bit more meaner, he'd be like Steve Smith-esque because he just has it with the ball. So that's my number 2. And I really think a lot of people want a big receiver, but we already have Mark Andrews, who's a fantastic jump ball. He's fantastic at using his body. You put 2 speed guys out there, now we're kind of mirroring what the Chiefs do. And I really think it would be dynamic for our offense.
All right, I got goosebumps. You get an A.
Wow, you didn't say much there. I mean, honestly, I got to agree with you, though, Jimbo, as far as I'm going to go A- again. I think I went A- the first time. I think adding more explosiveness, more speed. I mocked Antonio Gibson later in the draft that I would really like to see, but I think this guy would be a great addition as well. Anytime you can add players that can cause deception, have versatility, and explosiveness and speed on the field is what the NFL needs nowadays, and he certainly brings that. So I got to go A-.
Well, and the other thing, too, is just what Craig talked about, is that if you can actually identify what people call the it factor, like if you can clearly identify that and you feel convicted in that, I mean, that to me holds more weight than 90% of the other metrics that are out there. Because at the end of the day, when this kid is honing his craft and he's on the field by himself in the offseason and he's not supervised by coaches in the offseason, it's going to be that factor that propels his progression. We need those guys that aren't in college anymore. They're not kids anymore. They're grown men, and they need to hold themselves accountable, right? Like have their own, be their own steward of their own ship. So I think that's super, super important for success in the NFL. So that's a good point to bring up. So let's see. The third pick for the Baltimore Ravens, which would be their second in the second round. We'll stick with you, Craig.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
All right, at 60, I think this is a spot where there's still a lot of talent. I kind of cheated and did a double pick, but I feel like these 2 prospects are so similar that it's almost okay to say if one's there or one's not there, I can just get the other one. And Jimmy, you're going to like this because you mocked this guy. It's Chin and Kiger. They're both freak athletes. Chin is a 99 percentile adjusted spark athlete, and Duggar is a 98. Duggar went to Lenoir Rhine, which is like extremely small. He was a man among boys. Whenever he wanted to turn it on, it was game over. He dominated the play. He was so good that he didn't have to really pay attention, and he was still good. But when he started focusing, he turned it on and games were done. And Chin is just a freak that showed it at a little bit of a higher level, and he also just looked like a man among boys. And I know we don't need safety, but if you get one of these young stud athletes, who showed, and I think, again, it's the it factor. I know the Ravens talk a lot about blue collar and people who put in the work. I don't get to meet these guys in person, but I can tell you on tape, they have it. They're game changers. And when I see these two, I think you put them behind Earl Thomas and Chuck Clark for a year. When Earl Thomas is done, or even just put him at linebacker, like a coverage linebacker during a nickel, I think these guys can dominate and do some special things that you're not going to get another chance to get at this pick or at a later pick. So Chin and Duggar, it's a kind of –
Who am I grading? I mean, I kind of feel like you cheated a little here, Craig. I mean, you took the easy way out.
I'll go Duggar because I think Chin goes earlier because Daniel Jeremiah was talking about him most likely going a little bit earlier. So I'll go Duggar because Duggar's even smaller school.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I like that you ended up – so Kyle Duggar, okay, out of where?
Yes.
That's why he's getting a B- for me, dude. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
tape.
Okay.
Yeah, but dude, he was playing against me.
So did Brandon Williams.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but I didn't get Brandon Williams an A coming out either.
Well, let me ask you, Danny. You kind of heard him break down Chin and Duggar. Would you take either one, and who do you prefer over either two?
I mean, Chin is better, I would say. Chin, I think Craig knows that. I think that's why he didn't pick him.
More polished.
Right. Duggar has potential. I don't know. Me being competitive, I would say he should go in the 7th round. No, I'm just kidding.
Dang.
No, Duggar's fine.
He's fine.
Lots of tape.
Okay, no, I like the what you explained about. I'll be honest, I don't know who Kyle Duggar is because he played at a school, and this is why we have Hanz Picked on the show because they can pull up guys because
They hand pick them.
yeah, they pick guys that maybe we never heard of, and I will be honest and say I never heard of him. So with my opinion not mattering quite as much with that preface, I will say B- as well, only because as you mentioned, I think we just brought back Levine to play kind of that dime linebacker a lot of times. Maybe bring back I think Jimmy Smith's in for a different role on this defense as well. And he could take some of those snaps at those hybrid positions you were mentioning. So I'm going to go B- just because of need. So, yeah, Danny, so what do you have at 60? Craig wants to – go ahead, Craig. I know you want to get –
I always got to have a last word with my prospects. I was going to say the only harder thing than finding film on Duggar is beating Duggar. I'm telling you, he's that good, man.
And how hard is it to evaluate a player when he's playing against such a lower level of talent than these other guys?
Well, it's very hard because I'll tell you, the camera angles are the first thing that throw you off because they're not at the same distance as collegiate. You're not getting these big angles. It's like zoomed in half the time, so it looks faster than it really is. The thing is, he showed up during the combine, and he showed that his athleticism is for real and it's not fake. And that's very important with the comments. So thank God that was able to happen before the virus because without that, you could say, yeah, he looks fast, but he's going against Joe Schmo. But he showed that he has elite athleticism, and he showed on tape that he was able to read these people. And it's going to be a challenge for him to get into the NFL and make stuff happen, but I think it's a challenge he can overcome.
All right.
It also brings some kick return ability to us too, I noticed, but we'll see how that goes. So, Danny, number 60, who you got?
60, I have KJ Hamler out of Penn State. Very similar to Hollywood Brown. He didn't run at the combine. I don't know how much you can trust this, but he said he ran a 4.27 40. He's very fast. He runs great long routes. He's a shorter guy, great catch. But can you imagine 4.2 guys out in the field next to each other, and then you put Jonathan Taylor with that, a 4.3 running back? How is someone going to cover that much speed, especially with them being more refined receivers? Because he can run routes. He's not just run straight over top. I can run underneath, throw me the ball, and I'll beat somebody and go.
Wow, I tell you what. Just looking at early on, Danny, your draft's getting me excited. I mean, I'm looking at what you're adding to that offense, and Bond, coming off the edges on the defensive side. I really like getting a guy like Hamler. I want him to get that type. I think I mentioned who I have going there, and Rieger I think fits that mold as well that Craig mentioned. But yeah, I think for Hamler, If you could get him there, I would definitely go A- there. I like Hamler. What do you think, Jimbo?
Yeah, no, I was going to agree. The research I've done on this guy, I agree with your synopsis that there's a lot of similarities between him and Hollywood, and adding to your strengths sometimes can be more beneficial than buoying up your weaknesses. So doubling down on what you're already good at is also an awesome strategy. So I'm going to say B, solid B. I like it. It has an opportunity. Well, all these guys have an opportunity for the grade to change, but this one could really be an impact guy. Once again, it's just totally different at this point because, everything has to be within this window. It doesn't have to be, but we need to win now. We're not going to have this team, this roster forever. So we need a guy that comes in and makes an impact, right? And so based on the fact that he played in a good conference, he was productive, he adds to the strengths of Hollywood Brown and adds that speed. He could make impact plays right away. So I give you a solid B.
Well, Danny, let me ask you one quick question. Did you happen to watch the Ohio State game with Hamler?
Probably. I watched a good 4 or 5.
Because I'm looking at some of these breakdowns, and apparently he showed out against Jeff Okudah. Is one of the notes? Did you happen to notice anything jump off the page in that category?
All the top of my head, honestly, I can't remember because I've watched I've probably watched 60 films on players in the last 24 hours. So it's hard for me to remember the exact game that you're talking about.
But it didn't jump out at you. Okay, all right.
I will tell you that Okudah, if I'm remembering correctly, I can't specifically remember, but I thought it was Okudah versus Higgins, and I think Okudah shut down Higgins pretty well. So Okudah is no joke. He is a serious quarterback, and he shows up. So if Handler did that, I'd be pretty impressed. My thing about Handler is I know it's okay to be a small receiver, and I did give him double marks. It's called when you for instance, if he's small, I give him marks for being small, but then I give him marks for what happens when you're smaller. So he came across the middle a few times and you get hit and the ball was knocked ajar. So I originally marked him down pretty low, but I basically marked him down twice for just being smaller, which is something that a lot of scouts end up doing just subconsciously, without even thinking. But I rewatched Chandler and he shows really good explosiveness. And to get him at the end of the second, I like Rager a lot better, but I think Hamler would definitely be a tool to makes safeties be really honest, especially with our prolific run game. You're really going to push both safeties back because they can't just cover one side with Brown.
That speed kills, man. I want to see it. I want to see more speed. So I guess we'll stick with you, Danny, and we'll go. Did you give your grade on Hamler? I didn't get your grade, Jimbo.
B, yeah.
B, okay. All right. Danny, if you could tell us who you got the Ravens taking at 92.
All right, at 92, once again, out of Wisconsin, going with Tyler Biadasz, the center for Wisconsin. If you watch this guy, he is so dominant, and at the same time, he's so quick and so athletic. I saw him push a guy and pancake him, and then I saw him on almost the next play hike the ball, beat everybody out to the corner, and be the lead blocker for the running back, Jonathan Taylor, which, pairing them together would also be nice. But I think he is just I can't picture a better
He's so good
line than Biadasz. You talking smack, Craig?
No, I just said he's so good. No, he really is. I really like your pick. And just to preface this, I picked the exact same guy. I did not know who that he was picking, and we ended up with the exact same player. I saw here that we needed an inside lineman. I was thinking Ruiz would be gone, Cushenberry would be gone. Both of them I liked. We talked about them when you guys mocked. So I was like, who's a good player? I saw Biadasz and mocked into the same spot. So you can kind of double up our grades for this spot.
Who told you about Biadasz? Can you tell that to the audience? Who showed you Biadasz?
I think Daniel Jeremiah was on the phone with me and told me about him. I can't remember.
Zelka, maybe?
So let me ask you this, Danny. Do you think that he's a day one starter?
Yes.
All right, because that's at the end of the day, I feel like that's what we need, right?
I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we got to draft day, and because there's such little information on mocks, if he went in a late first, maybe second round.
Wow.
He's a monster.
He is good.
Yeah, that's why I gave that a A+, but for that reason alone, I don't think he gets to 92.
Right.
That would be awesome. That would be ideal because I think you're right. He seems like a very versatile player, can play in multiple schemes and can start day one, which is, of course, what the Ravens need. My question is, did you mention, is he going to be you said he's the best guard. Is that what you said?
I'm sorry. If I said that, I meant to say center.
Okay, center. Okay, so you got him playing center at the next level. Okay, and I, honestly, with the uncertainty with Skura and his health, and even when he was healthy, he was serviceable. But I don't know if anybody would, lay down, for Skura and say, I need him. So, I have no problem with upgrading the center position, even though they did extend a qualifying offer. And it looks like they're going to try and hang on to Skura. Competition, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, he's a good piece, but to be a dish. And it's so hard because there's no information. There's less information on where people are going. So right now, everybody has him mocked into the third day. But I wouldn't be surprised if he went in the second at all.
I was going to say, honestly, I was watching Malik Harrison scouting him, and I kept seeing this big dude blow through the line and blow people out. And I'm like, who is this? And honestly, I was like, Danny, do you know anything about the Wisconsin center? And he was like, yeah, it's Biadish. He's a beast. Because I didn't watch film on him yet. But, man, he pops off the tape. I saw him and Malik Harrison go at it. And Malik Harrison is really hard to move because Malik Harrison comes in like a sledgehammer. And Biadish was able to, move him back, redirect him, and he's very good. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't gone on day 2.
Yeah, I'll give you an A. I'll give you an A because it's a good pick. Not an A+ because he might not be there.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, Craig, let's go to you for our final pick in the third round at 106. Who you got?
So we have a lot
Alex
of needs.
Moss.
Not Zach Mouse.
Zach Moss. Why did I say Alex? Oh, gosh.
We have a lot of needs, and I know Jimmy's really about win now, so I wanted to get good points on his side. So I'm getting a linebacker here that just had the most production of any linebacker. He had 409 tackles, 10 interceptions throughout his career. Call him Mr. Production. I was really fighting between him and another linebacker that I like, Weaver, who's a little bit less athletic. But right here I went Logan Wilson because he's a Wyoming inside linebacker. He's got the production. He's got the intelligence. He's probably one of the best linebackers that scan in the field, even when he's in pass coverage. He's one of the few linebackers that you saw him go back, and he constantly scoped the field to make sure that there's nobody in his zone. He didn't get lulled to sleep and just look at the run. He's one of the few guys that I really trust in pass coverage. There's a few other ones that I like, but pass coverage, intelligence, being able to show that power and block shedding. I think he just does a lot, and I think after him and Weaver, I think the linebackers go down a lot, and then you can just have your pick of the litter. But I think he's one of the last few mid-tier linebackers that need to get snagged.
A+.
Yeah, you said A+?
A+.
Wow.
Win now.
I'm giving it an A+ because I think it's realistic. I think it's a good scheme fit. He reminds me a lot of Joe Schobert from the Browns, who has had an awesome career. And we need a thinker back there. We've talked about this before, but it makes a difference when your linebacker has that point guard type personality, right? We have Chuck with the green dot, and that's fine, but we need a communicator who can control the defense, that can communicate with the front and the back end, and I think that's something that we've been missing. So, A+.
Yeah, it's at this pick to be able to get a guy like that. I got to agree. I got to go A here. I think I love captains. I love team captains. I think the Ravens stress culture maybe more than any other team in the league. So I think you bring in a guy that's a 3-year team captain, a guy that projects to possibly be every down linebacker, big guy. I don't know. I liked him. I'm a big fan, so I got to go A as well. You said A+, Jimbo?
Yep.
Wow.
A+. And he's a cold weather guy. He's playing out in Wyoming where there's 50-mile-an-hour winds and it's 10 below, so he knows how to play in weather. He's not there's no adjustment to playing in the cold. I just think he's got it for sure. Yeah.
He's when I looked at him, he's in the 63 percentile, so he's above average for an athlete. But man, he knew when to use power and when to use speed. He'd just use bend the edge and go around tackles. But at the same time, there was a game I watched. I forget who it was, but I felt so bad for the fullback. Fullback came up and tried to challenge him twice, decleated the dude off the turf twice in a row. And I felt so bad for that guy because Logan just embarrassed him. And that guy's definitely not getting drafted.
Anytime you want meat and potatoes, you go to Wyoming, Idaho, Utah. So you're in the right spot for meat and potatoes.
We lost Jimbo. All right, well, that's fine. Let me ask you something. When you were when you were going through the tape, did you happen to see if he was how he does as a blitzer? Are they able to? Do you think he's a player they could use as a blitzer and be effective?
So
What's happening?
I think he would thrive in an offense like that where he can do stuff like that. And I think some of these linebackers can't. Like Malik Harrison's a good one who can stunt and he can go behind people and he could do more exotic blitzes, I think. But I do think Logan Wilson would do great at that.
Well, that's good to hear because we know Wink likes to blitz.
Yes,
Maybe he might try and do a little bit less of that this year, but Wink is who he is, and I don't think he's going to ever fully stop. And I still think we'll probably end up being the most blitz heavy team. But all right, so Danny, who you got you got 2 A pluses or an A plus and an A, so you got a lot to live up to here.
About to bring it home, and I love Logan Wilson. I was deciding between Logan Wilson and this player, who is actually the same player you were deciding between. I'm glad I went the other way. I went Evan Weaver, who may be the best middle linebacker between the tackles. His problem is to the outside. He only ran a 4.7 40, not terrible, not great. But if you go between the tackles, he can blitz. He stops all the runs in there. He's able to go and get just outside the tackle. He just has a hard time chasing to the outside. And who trusts LJ Fort to make all of our tackles from the inside linebacker position? I don't. Because where is it at? Weaver had 181 total tackles one season. He made 181, and 103 of those were by himself with no help from any of his teammates.
That's incredible.
I will take that every day of the week. Production high, work rate high.
I will say this, Weaver, I loved Weaver, and I think I may have pointed him out to you. I don't know if I did or not, but Weaver's a guy that anywhere between the tight ends, that's his domain. He was the best. He was one of the few linebackers that I saw jump the snap. As soon as the snap, he was between the line before the linemen even were able to stand up. The biggest problem with him is his athleticism is low. He's like in the 28th percentile, so he's not as athletic as 70% of the NFL linebackers. But he's one guy that I do have faith in that can overcome it. Here, I just want a little bit more athleticism instead of pure instincts and power.
I would like to say that Craig showed me Weaver, but I showed him Logan. So
we chose the other one, which is the funny part.
Oh, that's awesome. Nice. Well, I give you an A plus, Danny. I like the value as well. Once again, the fact that it's a realistic pick, that the chance of him being there and the fit. The Tennessee game, we're not looking to get run over again. All right. We already, beefed up our defensive line, but having a guy that you can say definitively is the best middle linebacker, between the tight ends, as Craig said it. Hey man, that's a real statement to make. And if you got that coming into the season, if nothing else, that's a start. So I take it. I give it an A plus. Glenn?
Yeah, I got to give you an A as well. I think to get a guy that you guys are both predicting that's plug and play, and you both are. It sounds like an agreement of saying he's the best in between the tight ends linebacker.
I think at this point, I wouldn't put him over obviously I wouldn't put him over Murray. I wouldn't put him over Queen or whatever.
Outside the top few guys, the top 3 guys, I guess I would say. Go ahead.
I was going to say Malik is someone that doesn't have extreme range either. I think Malik's a little bit better than Weaver, but I think Malik Harrison and Logan Wilson and Weaver and Jordan Brooks are all in this category. But I think Malik and Weaver are going to be a little bit more hammers, which we need to complement LJ Fort. Whereas my guy is going to be – he can be a hammer because he's actually bigger than Weaver, but he's a little bit more fast reading.
Yeah, it worries me a little bit, the speed. But as you mentioned, it doesn't seem like he's going to be asked to do – he's not going to be asked to be a 3-down linebacker in our system. So I'm not too concerned about that. So I would go A. I like that pick there. I like both Wilson and Weaver at 106. So overall, Jimmy, I want to know, who do you like draft overall better, Danny or Craig?
Oh, this is really tough.
Oh, yeah. No, well,
all right.
You want to think on it? Because I can tell you right now, as close as it is, I got to go with Danny. And let me tell you why. I think he's got the best player at a couple positions. He's got the best running back in Jonathan Taylor, and I think he's got the best guard in Dish. So, to me, if you can get two of the best center. He likes him at center, but I think he's a good guard too. But I would have to give the edge, and I like Hamler. I like Rieger as well. They're very similar draft, but I have to give the slight edge to Danny. What about you, Jimmy?
You know what? I was going to go with Danny, but I'm not anymore.
Because I said it. That was the biggest. Yeah.
I was on the fence.
I picked Chin, man, or Duggar.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ended up going with Duggar. You're graded off of Duggar.
But this is the thing, is that I think that Jonathan Taylor at that spot is a stretch. I don't think he makes it that far.
A lot of mocks have him as like the third running back, which was kind of surprising.
I just don't know if he gets that far. So that to me is a linchpin. I love it, of course, but I don't know if he gets that far. So from a realistic standpoint, I live in the now, the here and now, what's real, okay? So I'm going with Craig.
All right, fair enough. Okay.
Sorry, Danny. Maybe next time. Remember that you both chose Glenn, okay?
Did Craig freeze on us, or is he sitting very still?
I think he froze.
Okay.
He's in shock because Jimmy gave him the win.
Yeah. I signed off. Okay, all right. Well, that's it for this one.
Yeah.
But stay tuned because we're going to have these guys back, certainly when it gets closer to the draft, and absolutely after the draft to see who does better. But maybe next time we'll have them on. We'll do the second half of the draft. Maybe we'll get them to dig a little deeper, and we certainly want to break down a couple other positions a little bit more in depth. So make sure you keep watching. Make sure you subscribe and hit the alert bell. That way you get the most up-to-date information for your Baltimore Ravens. And keep watching, and we'll keep putting out. So thanks again, Craig. Thanks again, Danny.
Thank you.
And thanks, Hanz Picked, for coming on and teaching us something.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah.